Did you expect to have more money at this point?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you expect to be more happy?
Yes.
Are you guys happy?
Yeah.
Sometimes. Right? I think sometimes a pretty honest answer, right? Happiness comes in spurts. Life is, as we continue on with stress and well-being, we go back to Nietzsche. So maybe the major point of the class is not only to be able to think for yourself, right? And the last word in that sentence is yourself, but to overcome. You're going to face a lot of trials in life, a lot of unhappiness, a lot of struggles, a lot of anxieties. So how do you overcome yourself? I think that should be the major thing. So life is not process. Life is not outcomes. Life is not process. What's the important thing in life? Important thing in life is the obvious. Life. That's it. A person who is, I would say wise, right, because intelligence is subjective. A person who is wise is content about life, right? Anybody who has serious thoughts with themselves, real mature serious thoughts, think like, hey, I was born. What happened if I wasn't born? Well, you wouldn't know, right? But you're here. And so although you may take it for granted, you're like, oh, okay, I'm young. You know, my parents are paying for everything. I'm still gonna do what I wanna do regardless. And I got all this stuff I wanna do, all these big dreams. No, I think that's a person who doesn't take serious thought. Serious thought that you exist. How do you exist? That's a serious thought. How do you exist? Why do you exist? Right? Those are serious thoughts about life. Like, hey, why am I here? Why do I exist? And then you start to think after that, you begin to laugh at life, right? You laugh at all the stuff you need to get done, it's so important. Right? You're gonna kill yourself if it doesn't get done. You're gonna beat yourself up if this doesn't happen. But that is all foolish thinking, right? Because once again, we said we mostly live our lives in reference to others, which in honesty could be said that most of us are not ourselves. Right? We're living a life of what other people want us to live. Think of that. Are you actually the identity you want to be? Are you the person you truly want to be? Or are you just an organism influenced by everything and everywhere and every event? Like, you know, who are you? If you ask most people who they are, they probably get stumped and don't have an honest answer because they don't know who they are. Right? So the major point of this is to overcome. Overcome means, yes, stress exists. It's going to always exist until you die. But then, how much stress is up to you. Right? That's overcoming yourself. You're like, oh man, accountability, like this person did this to me. Like, no, you did it to yourself. It's because of this. No, it's actually because of you. Right? Which means you have a choice. Right? Everybody has a choice. You're like, I'm unhappy. I'm like, why? Because of these things. Okay? Those things don't really matter. Only thing that matters is you're alive. Yeah, you can add some stuff to it, the basics. But beyond that is, you're taking on more anxieties in your life for maybe unnecessary reasons. Which is what? We live life to impress people we don't even know. Right? We live life to impress. Who do I want to impress today? What I want to do that thing. So people can congratulate me and thank me. So I can feel good about myself. But you're like, well, if you need all that to feel good about yourself, then once again, we're back to the problem of you. You have yet to overcome. Right, which we said, overcome, Nietzsche called it Superman. Which is Eagle in German, Übermensch, right? Superman. That's where the whole concept of Superman came from. Right? And later on, what DC made into a character. But the point is to overcome self. Self is the problem. Once you overcome self, you probably have very little problems. Which means that anything that happened will not affect you as it would have in the past. Right, make you older quicker, make your health fade quicker. So yes, we're trying to overcome ourselves, overcome our trauma, overcome our history, overcome our past, overcome things, overcome people and places and events. And therefore you will have some sort of peace. Be at peace. You can still do great things, don't get me wrong, right? You can still do all the things you want to do, but you can do it without the anxieties there. I'll briefly go over the exam towards the end of class, but we still want to focus more on stress and health, human flourishing. How do we flourish? How do we become better? How do we become our optimal self? Right, if we look at life, we see children need help, right? Children need somebody to help them, to raise them. And we see towards the end of life, if we're lucky enough to live that long, we'll need help again. Therefore, we become like, we start off like children, we'll end up like children, if we're lucky to live long enough. Right? And if we see that cycle, we're like, well, what's the point of that cycle, right? That bell curve. Truth of the matter is, for many things in life, you have a short window. Call it whatever you want to call it. Call it your 15 minutes. Right? This is life. This is life if you're lucky. You have a short window. Michael Jordan or LeBron James can only play for so long, and that's it with professional sports. It's over. Right? Maybe an acting career or a singing career. Probably could sing, but the voice would probably change. So it's good to have an understanding of your window. When is your window to do the things you want to do? Right? When is your window? You want to play professional sports? Yeah, probably now's one of the greatest times to do it. You know, probably be your best, maybe late 20s, maybe early 30s. Because you'll probably have a lot of wisdom about the game and knowledge, not just be, athletically and physically gifted. So know your window for the things you want to do. I think past the age of like 33, they describe pregnancies for women as geriatric pregnancies. So there's even a certain window there before you get into dangerous territory about having children, with it. For yourself or even for the unborn child, for issues. So there are windows to do things in life. understand those windows and know those windows very well. Fear of the unknown, right? That's a cause for a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress. Why is that? Tell me some of the things the fear of the unknown causes for human beings. Give me some examples.
You said it one time?
Tell me some of the things that the fear of the unknown causes for human beings. Give me some examples.
Anxiety.
Yeah, but in what ways? Give me some examples. Yes.
Aggression.
Aggression? Yeah. How so? How so with aggression?
If, let me just give you an example.
Just give me.
I don't pretend it was, I know you know, like, the Bible that goes on there, so like, if somebody goes to a part of town that they don't really know, who they're not familiar with, and all that, you get messages of people that are from that part of town.
Yeah. We can call that in psychology, right? Call that a perceived threat, right? I'm in the wrong neighborhood, I don't know anybody, they just start shooting at the car for no reason. I'm just innocent bystander, I get hit, now I'm in the news, people moved on, life continues. That was a short article. Right? Which means they even die. We quickly forget about death, depending on how close the person was to us, right? Could forget aunties and cousins and uncles, but you might not forget your friend because he was probably more close to you than even your blood relatives. But yes, perceived threats, right? Which is the fear of the unknown, which is a form of ignorance, right? And you're like, oh man, this causes a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, a lot of BS. Key word is perceived. You know, you've been an innocent person who's going to work. Their life is gone now. But yes, these perceptions of fear of the unknown. What else? Give me another example. All right, I'll make it relevant to you guys. But you're taking all these courses, you have the fear of the unknown of your grades, right? As the semester gets closer. You're not really sure what that's gonna do. And I'm pretty sure that brings anxiety to your lives, thinking about those things. You guys have anxiety about those things in terms of school, grades, right? And so what do you guys want out of grades? Not saying this class, just say other classes besides Professor Ross's. What do you want from grades? What kind of grades are you looking for? Yes. But give me a grade. Give me an actual grade.
A.
Why? Alright, so you want the best, you want the highest, right? You want the best, but tell me why. Why you guys are so obsessed with A's? What's the obsession?
They make me feel good and
Makes you feel good, right?
Yeah.
Alright. Is that true?
Puts you at the top instead of
Yeah, but what does that do? You see your name at the top of the top, you graduated magna cum laude or whatever. What is that gonna do for you?
Get me to grad school.
The grad school, you think it might get you into grad school, right? Great grade. May get you to grad school, right? Typically, a lot of grad programs look beyond that. They're looking for a certain character. Oftentimes you can't tell too much character by grades. You know what I mean? Person could be a completely F student all the way across the board, but that person might actually be a phenomenal character, right? Or what you're looking for at the time, because not every piece is supposed to fit a puzzle. C students run the world. Why is that? The CEOs of the world are C students, on average. We have to plus that, yes.
They do the bare minimum, but still get as far as everybody else.
Yeah. Is that a smart way to go? Subjective, right?
If it works for you, then yeah.
Let's just say that may be less anxiety. You know, it's like, hey, I like school, I don't like it that much. I got other stuff I like too. Right? You're gonna give everything to the job. Give everything to the job and they fire you what they have left. Right? Which are all these things we make up in our mind. I want to be noble. I want to be a noble person. I want to be honorable. I want to be this and that. Well, that requires other people to give you that, right? And we say most of us live life because of other people. So we live a life of anxiety, which is in the subconscious, buried, right? Because we're all going to deny it and say we don't have it, right? Which means that therefore we have a problem with ourselves. We're not honest with ourselves. The person who is not honest to themselves and lie to themselves constantly every day. Because the person who probably has, towards the end, they probably feel like they had more of a crappy life, right? They probably wish they were more honest with themselves. They wish they had overcome themselves. But yes, fear of the unknown creates most of the problems. We generalize people, we discriminate against people, right? Why? Because it makes us feel good, that's why. All right, ignorance. And that's why I say ignorance is bliss. Are you guys familiar with that phrase? Ignorance is bliss. Why? To be ignorant makes you feel good. Right? But we know that all things that makes a person feel good in the immediate typically is more harmful down the road. So to live in ignorance probably won't be to live what we call the good life, right? Last class. So we have to fine tune our brains. We have to change the way that we think. Change the way that we perceive the world. Change what's, I would say evaluate the importance of things in your life. You know, truly evaluate them. What's important? Why is it so important? So yes, uncontrollable, well, coping with stress, perceived loss of control, right? So all these things you think you don't have control over. And then learn helplessness, uncontrollable bad events, like, hey, this bad thing happened. I can't deal with this, this is just too much, I'm an emotional wreck. And then we have perceived lack of control, right? There are things that are real, which is like we can't control all the forces outside to make sure that we're completely safe at all times, right? And then we have perceived lack of control, which is when we start to think of, we probably have accountability and responsibility with these things, but we perceive it as other people posing issues on us, right? So yeah, remember that the problems, most of them, I wouldn't say all, but most, you know, don't have to deal with others and events and places and things. You have to deal with you, because that means you probably haven't assessed or evaluated properly the things that you're thinking. Therefore, you have a perception of lack of control about things. When generally, you probably have more control than you think. Remember I said people who always, let's say that if we were to evaluate people as good and evil, right? Based on whatever definition we came up with. Oftentimes, the people who believe that they are good are actually the most self-serving people, right? When we talk about the ego, superego, and the id, they have a very large, they can have a very large ego, right? Which means that the acts of doing good, or even the perceptions of doing good, are oftentimes self-serving, and it's done for others. So it's the look at me mind frame, right? Look at me, look at how nice I am. Look how great I am. Look how charitable. Look how kind I am. And oftentimes those aren't general practices. You know, they're very conscious practices done on purpose so that others can give gratitude towards others. And so if we typically look at historical figures, we start to see their real lives, right? And we see how flawed the great, quote unquote, good people of the world throughout history, right? We begin to look at their actual intimate personal lives, we begin to say like, oh wow, all right, well, that's different. But what does that tell about us? That shouldn't negate from what a person has done good, right? If we believe them genuinely have done it good for the sakeness of good. But we know that goodness comes with flaws, right? And so if we see everybody as a saint, as a monk, as a this, as a that, those are perceptions and they're good. I guess they're good to inspire people or motivate people to do, you know, good quality things in life. But they may not necessarily tell the whole story, right? Let's see here. All right, I put an exam 3 preview in the middle of the slides. Let me see if I want to come back to that. Reducing stress, some practices, meditation. What's meditation? What is meditation? Anyone? Anyone has a definition for meditation? Meditation is just evaluation, right? It's done differently for many different groups of people, but it's evaluating. It's evaluating a day, a mind state, an event, person, place, thing, right? And that evaluation reduces suffering about that thing, which is another part of understanding anxiety. Is suffering part of life? Yes? Is suffering life itself? No? Who argues? One person says no. It's not, suffering is not life itself. Who has a counter argument for that? Yeah, life is suffering. Life is suffering. We just said we're not in control of most of it. having, some conscious anxiety about life. We always have the constant fear of death within us. That we don't know when the story will be, when the experience will be over. We socialize, we're social animals, but so we do suffer, right? Because suffer and anxiety could be boredom. We said boredom is anxiety, right? Boredom and anxiety, you could be bored right now. You're like, oh, that's suffering, I'm gonna do something else. Which means you will do something else, right? To counterbalance boredom. You'll do something that will be pleasurable, right? Because the human nature is to move towards optimal pleasure. And the wise person lives in the center, somewhere in the middle, right? The halfway point. So think of that, as you are bored, when you go to your classes, as you are bored, right? And you sit and you listen to the professors ramble on and on about topics, you will automatically do something. You go on your phone, you go on your laptop, you find something else to do. It's automatic at this point, it's habit, right? Because your body's saying, oh, okay, we're bored, we're suffering, we need pleasure. So let me see something on the screen to get pleasure, right? Or you may say, I'm gonna start daydreaming. Daydreaming, thinking about, okay, well, later on I have to do this, and then I don't know. Why are you doing that? Because your body is moving away from boredom. It's habit. It's already programmed within you, doing so much. So yes, life is suffering. We suffer all the time. First thing that pops into our mind is this is negative, this is bad. That's not necessarily true. So most things in life are neither bad nor good. They just are. We will give them bad or good for whatever reasons we came up with. And if you came up with a reason, that's called coping. And I have a reason why I think that that's bad or good. Yeah, interesting. Why is that? Because this is that. You probably came to that perspective because you need to cope with that in order so that you don't feel anxiety about it actually being the opposite. Right? And so we have all these biases within us. And the biases are there to make us feel good. So we're biased to discriminate. We're biased to be prejudiced, racist. We're biased to be harmful, to hurt people. Right? We do all this stuff so that we cope. So that we can't face a truth that we don't want to accept. And the truth may be completely opposite of those perceptions of these things. Mindful meditation, relaxation and silent attendance to inner space, monitor breathing. Right? You want to remove stimulus or stimuli, you want to remove those things while you're meditating, right? So they're able to focus internally. Monitor your breathing. Why is that? Why you want to monitor your breathing for meditation? Yes, you can stimulate yourself by breathing fast, right? You breathe fast, you make your heart pump. The heart is going to send all these, the blood rushing through your body, and send all these chemical predispositions to different parts of your body, right? To your muscles, all these things. So you can excite yourself, and you don't want to do that, because excitement brings a little bit of chaos to the mind. If you want to monitor your breathing, we're doing meditation. Linked with lessen anxiety and depression as well as improved sleep. Very critical. Good night's sleep is critical for having a good quality of life. If you think you're going to survive on 4 hours of sleep and have a good quality of life, you're fooling yourself. It just can't happen. Interpersonal relationships and immune system function. Which is good. So when these big events come on, typically you'll see people sometimes naturally take a deep breath. You know, they receive horrible news, now they have to, they have to process, right? But this is good to use So think of that, like if people receive traumatic news or events or something stressing them out, and they have to take a deep breath just to calm themselves, relax, like you should probably use that as a tool for other things in life, just randomly. Just randomly use breathing exercises to calm yourself. Therefore, you're being more in control. You're in control. You're controlling breathing, controlling your bodily functions. Now you have more self-control. What happens in the brain as mindfulness is practice. Right? Consciousness, mindfulness. Be very mindful. Stop being so automatic. Right? You get all these habits are automatic now. You want to move away from that. Which is the hardest thing. The hardest thing is for people is to deviate from change. Right? So when I was in the PhD program, they had a class. It's probably one of the most interesting classes. It was towards like in the PhD program, and it was called change management. It was literally how do you manage change, right? How do you manage change for other people? So if you have a company, you're like, man, we're gonna rearrange and change a lot of things within this company. Well, you got a lot of people that work for you. They're gonna change the way habits are gonna change. They may quit, right? People aren't good with changing up, be able to keep up with the changes. Or if you got a consumer base, you're like, oh, we're rebranding the whole thing. We're coming out with totally new products and services. Like, oh, you're making changes. Now your customer base, I don't know if they'll follow that change. So therefore you need people to be able to consult, to evaluate change, right? So that was probably one of the coolest classes I took. I mean, they're all pretty cool because it's psychology, right? So I said I was having disorders and traumas. It's cool. The change management is awesome because you're like, well, the world changes very quickly now on a whole scale, right? Because of globalization and the internet. So how do we monitor change? Think of this, like, you get a PhD in, let me think of a random country, in Turkey, right? You're like, man, I went to school, I did all this stuff, I did this, and now I got a PhD in engineering. I need to come to the United States, and like, well, none of it matters. But you want to live here and stay. That's a big change, you know. The same could even happen for us, which means that this degree we're getting, that you guys are trying to get, may be obsolete. Could be obsolete in the future, right? So yes, even when it comes to education, which I think is huge, we need to also do an evaluation on mindfulness. You know, why are you getting the degree? And how long will this degree be helpful? Right? How long will a degree be helpful? There's a quote, what's the quote? Someone said that, you know, I love learning, but I never let my education, I think it's Mark Twain. He said, I never let my education get in the way of learning, right? Which means that basically learning and education are two separate things. Right? You're in an institution that has requirements. They say you need, what, 120 credit hours? You need this class, you need this. This is a general education course, so you need it. You need this and that, this and that, this and that. Which means life is based off of models. Basically, it's based off of games, right? Even we have feels like game theory. So this is a game. School's kind of a game too. Politics is a game. Which means you need to fit the pieces in order to win the game and move on. Try to win the game so you can graduate, get out of here. But while we're playing the game, is a completely different mindfulness that should be practiced. Strengthens connections among regions in our brain. When we said 90% of life is not mindfulness, it's subconsciousness. 10% on a daily average is mindfulness. Activates regions in the brain associated with more reflective awareness. Mindfulness calms the brain, activation in emotional situations. Back to Will Smith. Will Smith slapped somebody. Why did he slap somebody? Why do we think he slapped somebody?
Mm. It's either cause like he was mad or because he knew that she was gonna get mad, so he did that and ended up humiliating himself.
Alright, Will Smith slapped somebody. One of my favorite comedians, Chris Rock. I love Chris Rock. Will Smith slapped somebody because of others. Right? And we always say that others tend to make us do really stupid things. Right? Things we typically regret later on. At some point. And the others cause, basically, you could say his wife, for whatever the reason he came up with. You could say that Will Smith faced anxiety and he couldn't control his emotions. End of story. There you go. It's very simple. Facing anxiety, couldn't control his emotions. So he couldn't communicate. He felt that he needed to get, to release whatever, to get rid of the anxiety. And he used a form of violence for that. We see that every day in every part of the world. There's a lot of dead folks in the ground at the cemetery because they couldn't control their emotions, right? A lot of people in the hospital right now, in the ICU, facing life and death situations. Why? Two things. They probably had to deal with others, and they had to deal with lack of control over emotions, which we say is privilege class. We can get control of self. It's all about self. Now we can use any other made-up excuse, a social excuse. Will Smith defended his wife for honor, for nobility, for respect. Make it all up as much as you want to make it up. Right? That has nothing to do with you, your internal actions on the world around you. You think if you go to prison, what's the reason why people are shanking each other and hurting each other? Oh, you disrespected me. Respect. You're like, oh, that had nothing to do with me. I mean, I can either act, I can either react or not act. You know? So think deeply about these things. It's about you. Right? You're playing sports, you guys are playing sports, you got the athletes here. Someone says something disrespectful, someone that's, taunting, trolling, doing whatever. In the heat of the moment, right, we say you got a lot of blood pumping through, you're not gonna think straight. We just said that you can excite yourself and you just start breathing fast. So obviously you think very active. Which means we see a lot of physical altercations, even in sports, because of that, right? Honor, nobility, respect, whatever reason we made up, right? To cope. We need to defend the minds so we can cope, because obviously we just don't want to face the truth about a lot of things. Because the truth is the truth typically goes against the grain of most of society. All right, quickly, what time is it? All right, we'll go through the exam. This is gonna be yeah, and I'll send these out to you on Blackboard so you can kind of just know what to expect. But we're gonna talk about what constitutes the stress, what is stress, and how it affects overall quality of life and health, which was this chapter. How motivation operates within our perceptions of the world. We will talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I kind of want you to, give me some examples of where you are in hierarchy. Short-term, long-term memory function, the differences, some of the criteria for those. And thinking, cognition, and concept. Concepts are sort of that modeling, how we paint mental images so that we're able to think about things. How we make meaning of something by painting a mental concept of something so that we can actually start processing it. The test is gonna be 50 questions long, all multiple choice.
You're lying, right?
There we go. So as we create stimulus within the body, right, we can say a phrase, and guess what? Immediate anxiety. Classic example. Right? Think about that. You got a trigger. Life shouldn't provide triggers, no matter what nobody says it shouldn't trigger you. And you will have a good quality of life. If you don't learn how to fine-tune that part, you're gonna have a horrible quality of life. Everything in life will trigger you that you think you can't handle. It's always a choice. No, it'll be the same format, 5 questions. So now you can breathe easy, right? You can regulate and meditate and reflect on all these different things. What else? Anybody got anything to add? We're still enjoying the course? How does this course compare with other courses you're taking right now?
It's the best one yet.
It's the best one?
To me.
Yeah? How so? Why you like it?
Cause we get to talk about, life problems and what's going on with our minds.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's just, think about all the other courses you've taken. It's like, I've been a lifelong student longer than you, so I already know the BS going to school and doing all the useless papers and things you think are pointless and exams. So it's kind of like, man, how much of this actually applies? You know?
Yeah.
How much of this stuff, all these math courses and all this crazy stuff is I'm never gonna use this. So going into the field of psychology, I was like, you know what, I like this, I can help people, I actually make money off this, it's part of the business. And it never stops evolving, as opposed to just teaching some mathematical course, which has its, has its purpose in life or whatever. Yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying the course, and Friday will be our exam, same format. I'll send out everything via Blackboard. Just make sure, try to be here in person. It's always very important. The school does have its guidelines on things like that. Any other questions? Anything anybody want to add or ask? Any life questions you want to ask Professor Ross? Experience, career, money, anything. My opinions about it. You can ask me anything. You can ask me personal questions. What do you want to ask? Go ahead. Anybody want to ask anything? Do I play sports? Do I think that some things are useless in school, degrees and majors? Yes. Yeah. I do real estate investments. I buy properties all over the world, right? I do venture capital. I buy companies, right? I buy equity within companies. I used to do business consulting, but I've kind of removed that part of the business. But those are my business activities. And then I also build programs for mental health and poverty, stuff like that, right? So I have a foundation, a nonprofit, and a for-profit, 2 different aspects. made money. But it all kind of coincided with this, you know, I went to school, I got an MBA for business, so I started off business guy only. And then I went to law school for a year, which is part of like a law degree and MBA together. Then I dropped out of law school because I didn't want to practice law. And then I went to get a PhD. So I started off completely business, but the psychology was still there, right? Because I went into marketing and all these little things. And consumer behavior, so it has some aspects of psychology. What else? Any of you need my opinions on something about school? Degrees, majors, or career, what you do afterwards? Or how you can use what you're doing now to make money? Well, let me know. You can always email me, right? If you want my opinion about something. Which is, you know, consulting. About like making money to start your own business or whatever. Alright, I'm not gonna hold you guys up. I'll see you Friday.